Hello everyone and happy Pride Month. It's June 2023 and I wanted to share some of the books in my reading stack that are related to the subject of pride. Okay, but first things first, check out this pin right here. Somebody left it on my desk at work yesterday on my keyboard. I don't know who left it, but I wanted to say thank you. Let's get on with the books, shall we? I'm going to start with books for younger readers and move my way up into books that have an older audience. Okay, you might have remembered this from my roundup a short while ago for books that I found in little free libraries. It is The Best Liars in Riverview by Lynn Thompson. This book just dives right into the story. It involves a child named Joel who has disappeared, and Aubrey, the narrator, his best friend, is trying to figure out what happened. And so there's sort of a parallel track. There's the search for Joel, and then through flashbacks, we get the events leading up to Joel's disappearance. Basically, Joel was being bullied because of his perceived orientation. He was being ridiculed for being gay. And the adults in the community, really unhelpful. The sort of comments that Joel and Aubrey would get about this homophobic bullying. Well, what does he expect, a boy like that? Aubrey, meanwhile, is wrestling with their own issues around identity. Here's a quote that really, I think, captures Aubrey's mindset. I've spent so long figuring that I just had to play the part forever, that I'd teach myself the right and wrong topics to talk about, that I'd teach myself how to dress right and how to act right and how to be a nice young lady, that I'd get good at it, good enough that maybe someday no one besides me would even be able to tell the ways my pieces never quite fit into any of that. I read the book, I greatly enjoyed it, and I recommend it to young readers. Another book for kids, I just picked it up today from the public library. It is Ellen Outside the Lines. Ellen Katz isn't like the other kids in her class. She knows most 13-year-olds don't need to plan out every detail of their lives or retreat into the quiet when life gets overwhelming or list everything and everyone in neat categories in a journal. She's always felt accepted by her best and only friend, Laurel, who treats the fact that Ellen is autistic like it's no big deal. Only Laurel has started drifting away, which is a very big ideal. Ellen decides that their class trip to Barcelona is the perfect time to fix things with Laurel, but nothing goes according to plan. Suddenly, Ellen has to navigate a high-stakes scavenger hunt in a new city, a crush on a cute girl staying at their hotel, and discoveries about her own identity. It's up to Ellen to map out a new path to happiness. Well, folks, one of the reasons why I am so excited about reading this is because it features an autistic main character. I am autistic, and I greatly value the insights that I gain from reading stories that center an autistic character, especially when the author themselves is also on the autism spectrum. And so I have a really great book to look forward to reading. Okay, moving on. Genderqueer, a memoir, originally marketed to adults, but the book holds appeal to teenagers, and so you will often find this book shelved in the young adult section of the library. In Genderqueer, Maia Kobabe has crafted an intensely cathartic autobiography about their path to identifying as non-binary and asexual, and coming out to their family and society. By addressing questions about gender identity, what it means and how to think about it, the story also doubles as a much-needed, useful, and touching guide. The House in the Cerulean Sea. You know, to be honest, I'm not sure if I would peg this solely as an adult book, solely as young adult. I think it could capture a wide range of readers. It's such a sweet fantasy, a romance. It just touches so many different genres. Linus Baker is a by-the-book caseworker in the department in charge of magical youth. At 40, he lives in a tiny house with a devious cat and his old records for company. But his quiet life is about to change. Linus is summoned by extremely upper management and given a curious and highly classified assignment. Travel to an orphanage on a distant island and determine whether 6 dangerous magical children are so dangerous, in fact, that they're likely to bring about the end of days. When Linus arrives at that strangest of islands, he's greeted by a series of mysterious figures, the greatest mystery of which is Arthur Parnassus, the master of the orphanage. As Linus and Arthur grow closer, Linus discovers the master would do anything to keep the children safe, even if it means the world has to burn, or worse, his secret comes to light. Folks, I read this earlier this year, in fact, because it was a featured title in my local public library's Queer Book Club. But I loved the book so much, when I found this copy in a little free library, I grabbed it up because I really am looking forward to reading it a second time. Okay, one last book, definitely for older readers, All Boys Aren't Blue, a memoir manifesto by George M. Johnson. I forgot to mention when talking about genderqueer, it was the #1 most challenged book, and All Boys Aren't Blue is very close behind it in terms of books most frequently challenged in libraries. I feel very passionate about attempts to remove books like this. I believe it is terrible. It is denying people the right to learn something about themselves, to develop empathy toward other people. Books that center LGBTQ plus experiences have something very valuable to offer to readers, whether they identify or not. We need these perspectives. And so I'm really looking forward to reading this. And I hope that I can convince other people. If you don't want to read the book, you don't have to. But let it stay on the shelf so that the people who need these messages are able to read it. In his groundbreaking young adult memoir, prominent writer and LGBTQIA+ activist George M. Johnson shares both glorious and gut-wrenching memories of growing up Black and queer in America. From getting bullied at age 5 to visiting flea markets with his loving grandmother, to the thrilling frontiers of first relationships, Johnson's early life is a profound tapestry of everyday experiences. As a rising star in cultural criticism, Johnson turns his passion for exploring intersectional identities to his own life by weaving questions of gender, masculinity, brotherhood, family, and Black joy throughout his stories. Posing the same questions to the reader, he invites us to consider what social influences have governed our own lives. So, folks, great stack of books on my radar to be read. Be sure to visit your public library or your local bookstore. Take a look for the really great books for Pride, not just in June, not just in Pride Month, but all year long. Happy reading, everybody.